Hi guys, this is my second video in line today. The first one was about the OnePlus 2 and this one is all about the Motorola Event. I didn't get to prepare too much because I just came after work. I did follow whatever I could in the media about those devices and I wanted to share my opinions and thoughts with them. Go over all the devices just in a quick video, even though it won't be that quick. But it will be quicker than for you to check everything on your own if you maybe didn't get to it. And I will start off because we saw 3 devices today. I will just talk about the phones. We saw the Moto G, 3rd generation. We got the Moto Style, the Moto X, sorry not to get it right, Moto X Play and Moto X Style. So let's start with the first one, the Moto G 3rd generation. And I would say one thing. Forget the 1 GB of RAM version with 8 GB of RAM. That's just not worth it because you can get, I think, the 2nd generation for cheaper. And the difference is mostly the CPU is too low because we have a 400 on the old one and a 410. The difference between those two is so marginal it doesn't matter. And yes, you will get a better camera, but that's pretty much it. But save a little bit of money and then maybe go for the 2 GB version with 16 GB because 16 GB itself will already make quite a big difference. Because I noticed with 8 GB it was so hard to install things and that storage is just filled up way too early. But the biggest update they made is 2 GB of RAM. I used the Moto G and I used a lot of 1 GB devices and I used of course a lot of 2 GB devices, and 1 GB for Lollipop in terms of multitasking just isn't enough. You will have to reload if you use more than 2 apps all the time. So do yourself the favor, get the 2 GB version, but that one seems very solid. We will get a great 13 megapixel camera. Of course, when I say great, I mean for Motorola, for their, what they can deliver. But it will be definitely nice because the old one was already good. The display, if it's exactly same display, will be a very, very good one because the old one was already great. The battery life should be good, 2470 battery is fine. But the 2 GB of RAM will make a big difference and should be worth the update, so pay that. The second device we saw is the Moto X Play. Just so to quickly see what we've got here. We have a 5.5 inch 1080p display, that is okay. 21 megapixel camera, fine. 2 GB of RAM, and the biggest thing here is the 3630 milliamp hour battery. So this sounds like it will have amazing battery life, but it also has the Snapdragon 615. I used that on the HTC Desire 820 and I can already tell you in terms of performance it is fine. With 2 GB of RAM it should deliver you a nice experience. Not quite high-end performance, but actually quite close with 2 GB of RAM. Should be also good for multitasking. But it is also a chip that a lot of people complain about overheating and throttling a lot. On the Desire I didn't notice a lot because it was of plastic, it was very big, so the heat maybe could dissipate quite a lot. But what I did notice, the battery drain was unusually high. So even that 3630 milliamp hour battery could be not that great as many think, because yes, you see 5.5 inches, you see the 615, you see 3630 in terms of battery, it should be great, but it will be good to maybe close to very good. But from what I saw, the 820 had about 25 or 2600 milliamps of battery, and it barely got me to 3 hours, if at all, screen on time. So we have 1,000 more, so let's say the half. You should get maybe 4.5, maybe even 5 hours of screen on time. So this is a good value. But it is not as good as the battery size itself makes you seem. You always have to see, if you see the battery, you say, wow, great battery life. Nah, always check the SoC. The 615 definitely isn't efficient. Performance should be very nice. In normal use, throttling should be no issue. And also the heat, I didn't notice a lot. Of course, whatever the screen delivers, but that's about that. I don't see it as a phone that great. It costs about $300, no bad deal, but it doesn't seem to be the awesome thing. Next thing here is the Moto X Style, and that seems to be the highlight here, with one caveat at least for me. So let's start off with the specs real quick. 5.7 inches with a 1440p display. That already sounds really good, even though for me personally it already sounds too big, but I will get to that in a few seconds. Then also 21 megapixel camera, 3 GB of RAM. I would have wished for 4 already, but okay, 3 gets it done. And a 30 or 3000 milliamp hour battery. That is what I am a bit concerned about, because we get the Snapdragon 808, so it shouldn't be as power hungry as the 810, for example, on the OnePlus. And from what I saw, Brian Healy told me he gets about 5 hours of screen on time, and I see reviews getting at least solid 4 hours to more close to 4.5 hours. If I now consider we have a slightly bigger screen, 5.7 inches, then I at least expect a little bit less than that. So I would say maybe solid 4.5 hours, which should be good enough for most close to hardcore users. Personally, I think if I really get solid 4 hours of screen on time with a little bit room to 4.5, I would be fine. It is definitely no amazing value because the battery just isn't that big. And considering that the Nexus 6 had an 805 with a slightly bigger battery, 3220, and the 6-inch screen, it could be good. And here's the thing now, what I've heard personally, and also Kevin Nether or Kevin the Tech Ninja told me I will be shed in tears when I was asking for the size, and then I heard 5.7 inches. Because 5.7 inches is already way above my personal taste, and I said 5.5 already is slightly above what I want. But here's the thing, Motorola said we have a 5.7 inch device in the form factor of 5.5, and I said yes, that's the same what OnePlus told us. They said we have a 5.5 incher that's fitting in a 5 incher, and we didn't get that at all. But I definitely was very curious about the specs, and I checked them now that I have numbers. And here's the really interesting thing, the OnePlus 2 is just 1 millimeter narrower with 5.5 inches than the 5.7 inch Moto X Play. It is also just 1 millimeter shorter. That is nothing. Okay, therefore it is a little bit thicker, but the one thing I liked about the Nexus was it had this curve. It was very thin at the edges, and in the middle it is thicker. They are about the same thickness, and that made the device feel a lot thinner. So I don't have an issue with the thickness, and it actually did feel as big. For example, the 6-inch Nexus 6 didn't really feel any bigger in terms of use than, for example, the 5.7 inch Nexus Note 4. So if I now, when I hold, I got my brother's OnePlus One that is the same width, the same length as the Moto X style. I checked it and I thought, yes, if I now have this slightly better curved feel that makes it feel slimmer, this could actually work. So what I did then, I compared it with the LG G4, and this is quite interesting because the LG G4 is 5.5 inches. It is, okay, about 5 millimeters shorter. Length is not that much of an issue, but it is 76.1 millimeter in width. And the Moto X style is 76.2. So they are pretty much the same. But the Moto X style has 0.2 inches more of display size. So if I consider now, I should get a close battery life to the G4. The same size of the G4, a little bit longer, but a bigger screen, same SoC and everything else, for less money. This sounds very compelling. And if we see the starting price with $399 and then see the OnePlus 2, for example, that is just a millimeter narrower, just a millimeter shorter, but pretty much the same battery life because the 810 drains more, even though it has a bigger battery. In terms of thickness, they are the same, and it costs $389. So it is pretty much the same price. Here in Germany, I expect both to be okay. Of course, you have to consider the OnePlus for that price has 64 gigabytes. Here we have 16. I would be fine with 32 and an SD card because from what I know, if I didn't mess that up, yeah, it has a micro SD card support up to 128 gigabytes. So I would personally get the 32 gigabyte version because 16, I noticed that on my Z3 is just not enough. If you, for example, use custom ROMs and do non-Droid backups, then 16 just isn't enough. 32 would be fine with a 32 gigabyte SD card. Then it would be fine. And if you consider now getting the 32 gigabyte version and it's maybe $50 more expensive, it would be $450. And with Moto Maker, so we would be slightly above, I hope so, 500. I'm not sure about the European price, about 500. If we are about $500 for this device, it would be definitely compelling. So all I actually need to is the battery to deliver at least solid 4 hours. The screen will be nice, the camera for me totally fine enough. Performance will be great. We will get a great system with a close to stock Android experience. We will also get, that is important for me, if I can get that in the same size almost, stereo front-facing speakers, because that is a huge bonus over the OnePlus. In terms of media consumption, this will blow it away. If they are anything close to the Nexus 6 or slightly better than the Moto X, the sound will be great. It will be feeling great because we also have Moto Maker. I could get leather, for example. So the Moto X style for right now could be actually the one device that would lead me away from smaller phones to bigger phones, because I was done. 5.2 was my thing, because it is about 4 millimeters wider and like 7 or 8 millimeters longer than my Sony Xperia Z3, which for me has kind of the sweet spot size for me personally. But this Moto X sounds so compelling that I might think to get this slightly bigger device for quite a lot, half an inch bigger device. So I will finish it off. I talked about all the devices, so just real quick, Moto G with 2 GB sounds like an awesome budget phone. I should get a review unit, I hope so, anytime soon. It really depends where I am on the waiting list. The Moto X Play is the one I'm least interested in for the price, because that is already very close to Alcatel One Touch Idle 3 territory or Zenfone 2, so higher mid-range with good battery life, but not that impressive, not that great in terms of price. And the Moto X Style then offers a lot more, so that's the really compelling one. And I think this is the one that most people will forgo. Either they will go for the budget device, the Moto G, or they will go for the premium high-end device, the Moto X Style. Let me know which you would choose, why you would choose it. If you maybe want the OnePlus 2 still, because I'm on the fence. Because at first when I saw the specs of the Moto X Style, I thought actually the OnePlus 2 looks like the better phone. But we lose a lot of things. Because on the Moto X Style we could get wireless charging. Not seeing it right now here. It will be water resistant. We will get quick charge. So definitely sounds like a really amazing device. I can't wait to get my hands on to review it. Okay, that's it for now. That's it for today. Until next time. Bye.